Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have an update on the Clayton Echard paternity saga. As you all know, last week, Nick Viall had Clayton Echard on his podcast to reveal his truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. So help Jane Doe. And now we've got what appears to be Nick victim shaming Clayton. I'm going to play the whole entire clip. I'm going to share what he shared on this podcast, what he shared 3 months ago with Gabby. Did Gabby right her wrong, or is it more or less the same sort of blaming him for a one-night stand, as Nick calls it? We're going to use the actual words of what went down so that no one misinterprets the story. And because of that, I'm going to share the clip in its entirety. This clip is 8 minutes long. First, let's go back to what he said and what Gabby said 3 months ago regarding this story where Clayton is the victim of an elaborate hoax. And again, at this point, unless she proves pregnancy in some wild way, that's the opinion we have, is that she was never pregnant and Clayton was a mark and she's a con artist. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but here's the original clip from 3 months ago that got it oh so wrong.
And Bachelor in Paradise. We must talk about the Clayton Echard thing.
Echard.
We attempted this a couple weeks ago when we had Rachel here, and for any of you who noticed,
she's
it was
so tight-lipped.
It was in the clip. No, well, we at the Viall household, we did some research, and I had some conversations with people very closely related to the situation.
And he's referring to Clayton Echard. It's with a D, not a T. It's not Eckhart Tolle. It's Clayton Echard. Anyway, when he says, like, I did all this research, he heard from Clayton and still wouldn't, talk further about it.
And we talked about it and ultimately edited it out because I just quite frankly didn't feel comfortable.
Right.
Ultimately edited it out. You got threatened with a lawsuit. You didn't have the backbone to share it on your platform. That's what happened. Ultimately, we didn't feel comfortable. What in the HR absolute bullshit answer is that?
What I'm hearing is that this story is insane. And the stuff that is out there is a fraction of what is the story I've heard.
Okay, so what did you hear?
Well, I'm still not.
Share with the class.
I don't feel... I'm not going to share most of it, but
imagine if a woman was assaulted. What did you hear? Now, I don't blame Gabby because she doesn't know the story at all here, but Nick does. Nick knows the full story at this point, 3 months ago.
For those of you who don't know, Clayton recently, last Friday, announced that in a very Maury Povich way that he was not the father.
Wait, how did he announce it?
He did like a reel on Instagram. He was like, "It's Friday," and he was like so excited.
I'm not a daddy.
Literally, that was literally his response.
I'm dead.
It was an interesting creative choice on the part
creative.
on the part of Clayton, but nevertheless, I appreciate his enthusiasm. Can you look up what he actually said? Because I think what he said,
the swab that they got, like,
what I heard from someone very close to the situation
from Clayton,
allegedly there was no sex.
Okay, so she's like,
there was only
sourcing the sperm from
there was access to.
Yeah. Like, men are just
stupid.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, so wait, you're not a doctor. You know how babies are made. Like,
no.
Just say it. Like, did you, like...
So Natalie calls men stupid. I get it. They're joking around. Everyone's joked around in one way or another about the turkey baster or this or that. But what they lose focus of is that this has tormented Clayton's life and, of course, other men as well.
That's what I heard, that there wasn't, allegedly, there wasn't intercourse, but he wasn't comfortable coming out and being like, I 100% know that she's not pregnant because we didn't have sex, because there was oral sex and there was climaxing. I don't even think that's still possible, but nevertheless, allegedly, that's what I heard.
I just like, who would handle the situation like that? Like,
who would handle the situation like that? I mean, like, couldn't he just use his Dancing with the Stars money?
I would just like go to everybody, like any kind of PR team, any kind of resource if I was Clayton, and be like, how is the best way I could talk about it if I'm like, if I know scientifically that there's
Look, okay, it's not bad advice from Gabby, but if I was there, I'd say, well, but let's just push back and say, when you're gaslighted, when you're manipulated, when you're conned, you don't think clearly, and just remember, let's reinforce that he's the victim. Let's just couldn't you just spend the money you received from? Okay, I know I'm making fun of her voice, but the point stands there that it's like, let's redo this episode with the information we know now, and let's just correct the kind of tone. And boy, does the tone not change. I mean, Clayton went out of his way. My guess is flew or drove to Los Angeles to do this interview. Goes out of his way to share his truth. And Nick kind of just takes it for what it is and moves forward with the flippant responses.
Gabby, we are very excited to have you. We didn't really even have a
This is from
recap
yesterday
episode last week. Last week was just a crazy week for us here
Yeah,
at the Viall
Gypsy
Files. We had
Rose.
Gypsy Rose. We had Clayton
Echard.
Yeah, so
You know?
Scandalous.
well, it was really more the Clayton story of it all.
Yeah. Wow. I watched it.
You did
on the TV.
You watched
I got
it on
the
YouTube.
visual.
You got the visuals because you wanted to see the receipts, or
I mean, I don't know, but I was sucked in. I was floored. It's devastating.
She wasn't the only thing sucked in. That's a swallow joke. Okay.
To me, what's so fascinating about that Clayton story is that it's, to me, it's really a story about a guy.
Okay.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, who, just foolishly had a one-night stand.
And again, I reject the idea that he had a one-night stand. They did oral sex twice. A one-night stand is penetrative sex. And we have to use our words here because people are going to misinterpret. Why didn't you say, don't stick your dick in crazy? Like, people say all these crazy things. They did not have sex.
With someone he was working with.
It wasn't a one-night stand. They just
grinded.
Well, what do you call it? Yeah, are we even calling is it that? So it's not a one-night. It had a random one-night hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
a one-night blowjob.
Thank you, Natalie. Call it for what it is: oral sex, blowjob, the old, whatever, the old tonsil tango, whatever you want to call it. But let's make it known what the facts are every single time you discuss it.
Yeah,
there was
a lot of the details he gave. I was fully dead. He's like, performed
the crusty Claytons.
Well, what is he?
I felt like
he gave every detail possible, even the details that didn't paint him in a flattering light.
Right. He is honest. Like, I think he said that he was like, Susie's said something, like he's a lot of things, but he's not a liar.
Okay, so far, all good. Like it so far. Nothing horrible. Again, I'm not saying you can't have a joke, but the overall tone has to reinforce the fact that you are talking about him as a victim here.
Like, he is really honest. I feel like that's why he's good TV. This is the first time I'm watching him on anything, like, objectively.
That you're not personally triggered by.
Yeah. Victim to.
Truly.
Gabby, please explain to us what you are a victim of from your season of The Bachelor. Please write that down in all of its form. I'd love to know.
But I can understand like how he's good TV because he's just really like sometimes too honest.
But the story is really just about a guy who then found out that he was allegedly the father and has had a hell of a time trying to verify it since. I mean, that's really the story.
Yeah.
Because when we did the interview, he was like, if this person ends up being pregnant, I will be the father,
I'm shocked they're not mentioning the previous cases. My guess is because they were also threatened with these lawsuits. I mean, when you know about Greg, when you know about Mike, and who the hell is this Andrew guy? I want to write a song. Who the hell is Andrew? We don't know. We don't know who Andrew is, but we know she was investigating him in the FBI. I'm not going to, I'm going to wait and see if there's any. Andrew, please blink twice. Come over here. DM us. We have a tip line. Not that kind of tip. All right, get a hold of it. So, I mean, right now it's like he knows there's previous men here, and yet I don't know. Sharing that there's a pattern of this happening probably changes the tone. Sure, it's Clayton trying to vindicate himself, but the mental health toll that it has played on him, you just can't help but feel Nick is sitting up there, perched atop this position in Bachelor Nation as holier than thou, and he's going to start criticizing Clayton for all of the ways he handled this.
But I just don't think she is, and I can't prove it.
Totally.
It's like it was a story about a guy trying to prove paternity.
It's like worst case scenario after worst case scenario.
Yeah,
and like
True.
the receipts he brought was crazy.
So
Her being
crazy.
like, no other woman is gonna give you a chance to like say you want an abortion. No other
Yeah.
woman's gonna do that, and like I'll
Oh,
only do
yeah.
that if you date me.
Right. It was like
Aw.
so backwards. I know. Yeah. But like if we stay together,
The math
then,
wasn't mathing.
no. I know. And so he was stuck in between like a rock and a hard place because it's like he couldn't fully prove anything because she wasn't compliant.
Well, since then, this person has come out saying,
She's not pregnant.
yeah, very carefully,
Yeah.
just stating that they're currently not pregnant. But to me, it's really
It's
just
crazy.
about Clayton. No one was like even like disputing like his details. It was just about one person saying I'm pregnant, the other person being like, can you prove it?
I do feel terrible for him. Like I feel like
Good.
the financial cost.
I think honestly, it's just
Good.
really a sad story.
It is
for
really
everyone
sad.
involved.
Okay, so she feels bad for the financial costs. No one helped raise the money for the GoFundMe. Again, I don't think Gabby does a terrible job here. I understand the predicament she's in. I understand humor, and I understand she's going on the show trying to make jokes and be lighthearted and fun. I just wish, and they got rid of the producer I liked, but I wish somebody stepped in and said, I just want everyone to know he's the victim here, and let's just treat it as such as we continue moving forward. And no one does that. It just becomes fodder. Clayton's story is fodder for them. It is just a couple logs of fire in their content fire pit. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't. You know,
Mhm.
it's.
Yeah.
I think it's a sad story. And that is my question to you. Do you feel bad? Like, where is your empathy for Clayton?
Okay. I know I was gonna be trapped here.
Not necessarily.
And I came skipping in, mind you. I'm like, here I go. But I think it's like obviously he even talked about it. Like you brought it up, and it's like listening. I went in because I didn't know anything about the case. It's like I have like other things going on. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm buying my 17th rug for my house.
Yeah, literally. Sorry, I'm
Sorry,
still
I'm busy.
decorating my place like 9 months later. I'm busy on Facebook Marketplace. But it's like I didn't say, all I said was his tone was like not matching. And I feel
and we addressed it on the show.
Right, and I feel like
am the father, Maury Post.
Plus, she said, why doesn't he just get a PR person? Like, it was very privileged to think that Clayton had the money and the funds and the resources, knowing very well that his season didn't go off the same way hers did. He didn't have a picturesque romance where he got all these lucrative deals. He wasn't on Dancing with the Stars making a couple $100,000 like she did. He didn't have all that. He doesn't have an agent, a PR person, all of that. So to judge him for his tone, I think that's actually tone deaf.
Pova's video was
right.
out of touch and weird and like
And
weird.
even him coming on the podcast,
How are we judging him for his video? You know, I saw Clayton the other day and I said, I'm not going to let people judge you for your video. He repeatedly says, oh, I'm embarrassed by that response. Don't be embarrassed on how you respond to vindicating yourself when you were accused of some crazy things and had to go through hell. Don't apologize for that. Speaking directly to camera for any other victims out there, don't apologize for how you deal and cope with the fact that you righted a wrong and proved yourself. Get out of here, guys. Can somebody push back on this?
doubling down, proving my point that nobody cares about. But it's like the podcast was very serious. Like the tone was really heavy. This was the first time he talked about it.
No shit.
So I was like, okay, well, you're further kind of proving my point. It's like, if this is your first time speaking about it and it is really heavy, there's really no lightness in it, as we're like witch cackle laughing.
I know.
No, I mean, I think he was able to make some light too. It seems like it's 8 months in the past and he has a new girlfriend and a perm. Like, I think he's doing.
Does he have a new girlfriend?
No.
He's got a perm.
And a mullet.
I know somebody he may be seeing, but my lips will never tell. I don't have loose lips here, folks. I can keep a secret sometimes. Unless you get me a couple drinks. If you come to a stand-up show, I'll tell you. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. I was on his TikTok last night.
Just doing some light reading.
Yeah, literally.
Knocking the X.
Yeah. I was catching up, but I think there's some video. Maybe it was his dance teacher. But I feel like I do commend him, one, because he has gone through such a mental health journey, and I feel like he really is coming out on top.
This motherfucker's been through a lot.
Literally.
As the Bachelor.
Yeah.
Like,
So if you can admit that he's been through a lot, how come there was no sort of assistance to pull him out of that? You're supposed to be a fellow peer, a guy that did the show. You understand what it's like to be. This was wild with Nick, right? He understands what it's like to be the victim, to have people hate him and all these things on a very surface level, because it was only on the TV show. He didn't have to go through nearly what Clayton's gone through. At the height of, the pandemic, Clayton has done, had gone through way more scrutiny than Nick did. And yet he doesn't have any wherewithal to throw him a lifeline to help him out.
I can't see any positive that's come out of his experience.
Yeah, and he's like, it's made me stronger. I'm glad it's happened. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually like good for you to like kind of have some meaning in it, But yeah, I don't know.
He's a guy who I think he admitted on the show that he's incredibly stubborn.
Yeah.
I think his stubbornness, in my experience working with him, is what's got him into some of these particular situations.
Please elaborate, Nick. How has Clayton's stubbornness got him into this? You know what I mean? That's like when someone walks down an alley and you say, "Well, what were they wearing? Why were they walking down an alley when they got robbed? Why were No. You were robbed." Okay. The other piece of that information is shaming the victim. Oh, he's stubborn. He is. Well, let me guess, Nick. Was he asking for it?
He thinks he knows the answers when he might not. And
how are they criticizing him right now after he took his time to go on their platform, share his truth, make Nick a shit ton of money, probably made Nick more money than Clayton has, in legal fees here. And guys, I'm just befuddled by this. And again, it's not the worst conversation. I just don't even know what they're talking about at this point. He's stubborn. Like, what does that have to do with this tragic situation where he was the mark?
I think some of it is just dumb luck. That whole thing, that girl on TikTok who claimed to have hooked up with him when he was halfway across the country.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know how this guy gets himself in these unlucky situations.
Literally.
But I do think in the past, Clayton, you could say, was guilty of just not making good decisions. Harmless maybe, like not malicious, but like.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
He was definitely.
No, I know.
I'm hoping there's a turn here. As the Bachelor, obviously you experienced some of his poor decision making.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't think he was led down a right path. And I think other people in his position as the Bachelor are maybe were more capable.
By the way, this last minute is so highly edited with some of these edits back and forth. So God knows what they took out.
Making decisions for themselves better than he was. But. Yeah, it's been quite the journey for him.
Yeah, totally. I know. He's been through a lot. So hopefully this is like the last thing and he can like...
It's only up from here, babe.
Right? Because it's
got to be have good spirits and, it's... But I hope this story ends... I hope it's over for him. I don't know.
I know. What's the deal now? What are the next steps?
It's just really just... I know there was some
I'll be glad to tell you what the next steps are. He's trying to prove paternity. She's trying to get a motion to dismiss. We're waiting on the judge to decide. Today, there's a deposition. It's like, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, guys. I just started, and I'll finish this up in a second. I just started sharing TikToks. I don't know where they are. I started making TikToks. I literally haven't been doing this, but every single day for the rest of the week, I'm going to be sharing this story. They're getting a lot of views, TikTok, and I also started sharing on Instagram as well, because we need to reach a new audience. Obviously, like I'm dominant more on YouTube and podcasting, but there's people when I made the TikToks, there's people that go, "Oh, you're the podcaster that he deleted. You're the..." Yeah, it's like, yeah, trust me, guys. If you want a actual full conversation of what went down, and I know I'm speaking to the audience that has that conversation, go give me a like, a follow, leave a comment on these TikToks. Let's keep on pushing this up the channel here, because of course we know they deleted us from the conversation, which I believe is akin to plagiarism. I don't know if I'm going so far as calling Nick a plagiarist, but I don't know what the term is for omitting information maliciously, and I just think the vibe of plagiarism is essentially that, the idea that you're removing someone for a conversation. And you say, oh, well, why would you remove someone from a conversation? Well, it's pretty easy when you think about it. You can see it here in this video. We have Grace Ann Parks here from Game of Roses saying, "Can I tell you why I know this? But Nick 100% told Clayton not to say your name." And then they said, Dark Seeker, the pit provides. And someone said, of course he did. Nick doesn't like giving other podcasters their due as he's afraid his followers might follow them. Nick is so insecure. Call it what you want. It's not really a personal insult from me. Nick has decided that it is a business decision to not have people know the truth and not have people follow me and get more information on the conversation. And that's why he deleted me from that conversation. And people said, well, maybe he's upset that you said that Jane Doe's fake unborn babies have more developed spines than Nick. And to that I say, well, I mean, first of all, it's a funny thought, and it's also how I feel. But it doesn't mean that just because you disagree with my portrayal that you delete me from your conversation. You can never say my name, but to take the name out of the mouth, it only led us to make this merchandise, Fan of Dave Neal, Some Podcaster, which, by the way, is our best-selling merchandise. I'm only going to have it on sale for the rest of the week. And if I ever see you at a stand-up show and you're wearing this shirt, you're getting a free hug from me. Let me tell you something. We'll have something to talk about. No blowjobs. Okay. I've got one kid on the way. I don't need another. All right. Anyway, let's finish up their conversation right here.
No way I could really be the father unless they're very much are like lines.
Oh, sorry. That's the wrong clip. Here it is. Here's the end.
With Clayton, he was still going through something because it's like he wanted to
some legal
hold,
stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like I think he has a chance to walk away at this point. And then the big question is she going to do the same?
His chance to walk away would then lead her to writing a book or doing a TED Talk or having fodder years down the line saying that she's the victim of this, like she's saying she's a victim of my cyberbullying and all of this. So yes, he could walk away at this point, but I like anybody else following this says, Clayton, go get your truth.
Okay, so I do, Clayton, if you're listening.
I'm sure someone's gonna send it to you.
Yeah. I think there's a way because I feel like the financial burden is like really when he was like my legal fees are close to $100,000. I was like, holy shit, that is crazy.
Okay, so everyone go send Gabby Windy Clayton's GoFundMe. I'll post the link in the description below. It's active. If she has a problem and feels bad for him with his legal fees, why doesn't she share them? I mean, you could raise a few extra $1,000. Wouldn't that be the nice thing to do? That would be fantastic.
So I think a way to make money, take this to anyone.
Sending him a pitch.
Yeah. And like whoever's listening. It's like a documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats, meets Anna Delvey, because it really is the Reddit army behind him.
And by the way, it's like, yeah, no shit. We've been talking about this for months here. The Reddit army is behind him. Absolutely. We appreciate the Justice for Clayton subreddit. Of course, that had to be created because other subreddits were getting taken down. All the moderators, everyone's been so fantastic. And we've been, using Anna Delvey as our thumbnail for like 3 months now.
That I feel like is like helping his case and brought it to light. And if anyone's seen Don't Fuck with Cats, it was like largely kind of based on like the internet army.
Was it Dottie? Was her name?
Is she the one who spearheaded it? Love her.
She was great.
Yeah, literally. So it's like they could do a whole I would watch a documentary about that. And
good to know. We'll see if you have to if you would share his GoFundMe. Not just be a consumer of the Clayton saga, but maybe a contributor to justice. We're holding out hope. And again, like I've said, the reviews that people have left, I don't encourage this. I don't encourage people to review bomb. Petty and unprofessional. The podcaster can't be bothered to credit his sources because he refuses to even mention competing content creators. Too self-serving and faking. Cutting out the name was so petty, so obnoxious. So failure to name sources in some podcasters. Yikes. Please give the credit where credit is due. As a listener for 5 years, I'm walking away. I've always respected Nick's dating advice and considered this show adding value to my life, given his ability to make fair judgments. However, I'm extremely disappointed in Nick in light of his refusal to give credit for his sources regarding the Clayton paternity scandal. Whatever petty grudge she has against Dave Neal is immature and goes completely against the value systems that Nick preaches on his show when it comes to ego and accountability. His ego has become unchecked, especially now that Amanda has left the show. We loved Amanda. Hey, Amanda, reach out. Let's do a Driving with Dave. Come on, Amanda. Let's hang out. Either way, I actually like Natalie on the show, but I also would like more pushback. I think good shows, if I ever hire a producer, I'm going to be like, lay into me. Give me some resistance. A little bit of resistance makes fire. But what we're seeing here is more like cult-like personalities all getting together and not having the full conversation, which it's like, that's okay. We'll do it over here. All right, we'll be back with more content. Link in the comment section for Clayton's GoFundMe. In the description. Link in the description for Clayton's GoFundMe. Link in the description for the merch. And then we'll be back after this on Patreon at patreon.com/Dave Neal.